Sharon Combs. She is an experienced, passionate, and charismatic speaker. Since 2000, Sharon has been investing herself in the success of others, captivating them with humor and openness that promotes audience engagement.
It doesn't have to be a fight between me and you. We can focus on solutions. And how do we focus on solutions? We establish common ground.
The thing I want to say is if you are fortunate enough to reach Coach Shay and set some time up with her, you're going to be very lucky.
We have assumptions, so many, and you have to check your assumptions because your assumptions can be the very barrier or bottleneck to us being able to work effectively together.
You're going to realize your true growth potential as a leader as well. She actually presented it in a way it felt new.
Hello and welcome to Be the Clay. This is the space where transition will meet truth, where God molds the woman you're becoming. I'm your host, Sharon Combs, and every week we talk reinvention, identity, mindset, and the faith required to hold your form when life is applying pressure. Here, we get honest about the battles, the breakthroughs, and the becoming, because the journey to a new you doesn't start with perfection, it starts with pliability. The journey to new rooms doesn't start with the immaculate poise, it starts with pliability. And so take a breath, lean in, and let's grow. One intentional conversation at a time. Hey y'all, how you doing? This is Sharon, and thank you for joining me on Be the Clay. Today we're going to talk about wrong in the room, wrong room, or both. Or both. Is it possible that it can be both? First, though, I want to talk about us being wrong in the room. We want to be right in the room, guys. We want to be right in the room. We want to be righteous in the room. So we're going to look at some ways to show up optimally without shrinking, without performing. It's not about competence or incompetence. This is not about, do I know what I'm doing? Do I not know what I'm doing? No, we're talking about alignment and misalignment. Here we are at the top of the year 2025. Alignment is key. It is key. I've heard it my whole life where people say you can be at the right corner at the wrong time or the right address in the wrong city. Like they say different things, the right street. And it's about alignment. It is about alignment. And I understand it now more than I ever have in my life. And I hope you do too. I hope you do too, because transition always happens, guys. There are a lot of changes, a lot of moving parts in this thing we call life. Nothing holds as it is, nothing remains the same. And so, because of this transition, it causes us to question things, to ask about things, to inquire, to evaluate, to adjust, to tweak, to all of those things. And today, as we're talking about these rooms, I want to be clear that I'm not talking about competence. I'm not talking about being wrong. Being wrong in a room is not about you being incompetent. It is about alignment. It's about misalignment, actually. Misalignment of energy, of posture, and intention. Sometimes language not matching the moment. So you're in this room now. New season, waiting season, whatever season it is, but you're in this space. It can be a room if professionally, like for leaders, professionally, in life, whatever it is, but you're in this space, you're in this room, and something's off. Something's off. You don't know what it is. And so it's not necessarily even a confidence problem. What it typically is most times, a large majority of the time, it's a clarity problem. And that means it has a different prescription. If when it's a clarity problem, it's a different prescription than when it's a confidence problem or a competence problem. Right now, we're talking about clarity. It's going to be a clarity problem. And so the first thing with it being a clarity problem, I want to share with you, like, don't try to match the room. Don't try to match the room. People, oh, come on, y'all. Fake it till you make it. This is Be the Clay. This is Be the Clay. This is Be the Clay. So the perspective you're going to get here when you're talking Be the Clay is, I'm talking about being the clay in the potter's hand, and sometimes that's pliable. Sometimes that's you lose a job or you lose income and everything in you wants to run and go get another job, and something is saying, no, don't do it. And you like, what? I got bills. All of this comes in, but you have to be the clay. So you have to be pliable, right? You have to be pliable. So again, don't try to match the room. Read it. Read the season you're in. This takes time, y'all. It takes you slowing down. You have to slow down, pause. You got to look at stuff. You got to look at you. You got to look at relationships. You got to look at what's really going on, because the alignment is going to be key here. And so, again, don't try to match your room. How do you know when you're trying to match your room? A mistake a lot of people know is they come in trying to prove, they come in trying to blend, or they come in trying to protect instead of just observing. Observe. Where are we? How do we get here? Take a real-time assessment. Look in the room. Let's speak professionally for a second. You're in the room, observe the room. Maybe somebody has brought you into this room because there's an initiative, there's a project, there's something that's being worked on. And some people were already in there working on it. So observe what's already going on in the room. Observe the people, observe the tone, observe the postures in the room. Observe the room. And as you observe the room, what makes you be right in the room instead of wrong in the room is you listen. You're observant. You listen before you start contributing. Before you start making your contributions, you listen. Listen actively. What are we really trying to solve here? Or what are we really trying to do here? If it's an endeavor, like an initiative, something nonprofit, what are we doing? What is the goal? What is the key? Listen. As Dr. Hatcher would say, listen. Listen to understand, not from the place of what you know, but from the place of what you don't know, so that you can be an active listener. And after you've heard everything, then you bring what you know before you start speaking and solving and offering suggestions. But in this room, listen. Don't try to match it. Read it. In order to read it, you have to listen. Notice the power dynamics. Listen, when I started getting in rooms that I was like, couldn't believe I would be in, or just so excited to be in the room. I remember one time, I digress, but let me do this. One time in Dallas, I was sitting next to a man at a luncheon. It was like 16 people. We were at a John Maxwell, like a local John Maxwell luncheon. We're sitting in there. It wasn't even a luncheon, it was dinner. We're sitting in there, we're having dinner, and I'm talking about, I want to write books and I want to be a speaker. I was new at John Maxwell, and these are some things I want to do, And by God's grace, all of those, man, hallelujah, whoop, whoop, hallelujah. By God's grace, all of those things have come to be in my life, right? And they've come to be in a way that I'm not an amateur at them anymore. I still get excited. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited every time. But yes, so back to the gentleman. This gentleman is sitting next to me, and people are talking because it's a networking event, but it's a local one. It's about 16 people, no more than 20 people at this dinner. And he asked me about it. And I was like, yeah, I would like to do this. I want to write books. I want to publish books. I want to be a speaker. I really want to be a speaker. I feel like I'm called to be a speaker. And, I love encouraging people and such and such. And I was telling him about that, and he said, well, it's right here. Everything you need is right here. And I just kind of looked at him, and I was like, yeah, I didn't know what he was talking about. I'm in these rooms, right? I'm in the room. I'm not trying to match the room. I'm not trying to read it either. I'm just glad to be there. I am talking about me. We'll talk about that in another one of these points a little bit later. But he says, it's right here. It's right here. And I still didn't know what he was meaning, but I was smiling because I'm in the room. I'm in the room, man, and I'm happy. And he said, everything you want to do. And then he told me to Google him. Let me tell you about authenticity and sometimes ignorance. Ignorance is not always a bad thing. Ignorance simply means you just don't know, And in that case, I didn't know what I didn't know. And he told me to Google him. And I said, and I did not mean this in a butthole way. It was so sincere. I said, why would I Google you? You're right here. I could just talk to you and you could tell me, And now I know that had I Googled him, then I would have been like, wow, tell me more, because I was giving social proof. But I don't think I needed social proof, or didn't, because I was just happy to be in the room, right? Remember, I wasn't reading the room. And so I was wrong in the room, but I was authentic in the room. And the authenticity helped me in that moment, because he recognized she don't know what she don't know. Yeah, so this guy was awesome. He has taught many speakers. He's on shows like Good Morning America. He is the youngest CSP, which means like a certified speaker, which means you've made millions of dollars just from speaking engagement, not speaking engagements and book sales, but you have at least had to make, I think it's at least $2 million in speaking fees only. No extras, not them taking care of this or taking care of that. Just your fees for just the fees for speaking. And so this guy had done all of these things. And so at that moment, I was like, wow, wow. But that's the authenticity that I'm talking about, you know? That's the authenticity. I wasn't trying to match the room, but I also didn't know to read the room. Now I know to read the room. Okay, so I just wanted to share that story about reading the room and about being authentic in the room, being a listener before you contribute, and recognizing power dynamics, like what's said and what's not being said. I realize now, like if you're coming in to solve something, you want to listen to everything that's being said. Again, listen from the standpoint, not of what you know, what you don't know, so you can active listening, then add what you know to it. And also look at what's not being said. And I'm saying look at what's not being said, not just hear what's not being said, but look, body language, temperature, facial expressions, all of that. Pay attention to all of that in the room too. And then ask, what does this room need right now? This is about not being wrong in the room. You can be wrong in the room. You can be wrong in the room. And so you want to be right in the room, and you want to be righteous in the room, I hope. So ask, what does this room need right now? And how do I need to be seen? No, not how do I need to be seen. What does this room right now, and how do I serve it? If you're asking how you need to be seen, that's more about you than about the room. So you don't want to do that. You want to say, how do I serve this room? And how do you do that? You have to get clear on your role, which is number 2. Number 1, stop trying to match the room, read it. Number 2 is be clear on your role, even if nobody gave you one, even if you just happened to be in the room. At that luncheon, I just happened to be in the room. There was another time in Dallas, I happened to be in the room. It was about 40 people in there. And I think about 36 or 37 of them was millionaires. Not only was I not a millionaire, I'd never seen that many millionaires, especially ones with melanin, in a small space. And nobody was posturing. Nobody was being performative. Nobody was trying to one up the next person. And I remember being like, man, how did I get in this room? And I was trying to call like people I knew, like the CEO of this company and the new CEO of another company. I was like, hey, you guys should be here. Y'all would really fit in here. You know what I'm saying? Not even thinking about me. And one of the people was like, no, they're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be here. Because I was on that phone. I probably missed some key information because I kept trying to bring people who I thought would benefit from those connections and what they were saying. And I knew that they were making difference so they could be around like-minded people. And finally, a lady, she just was like, they're not supposed to be here. You're the one who's supposed to be here. And so after that, I just put the phone up, because I'd extended the invitation. I'm like, come guys, come. They didn't come because it wasn't their room. And in that moment, I was wrong in the room because instead of me learning, gleaning, and actually paying attention to where I really was, I was so busy trying to pull somebody else into that space. And that space was for me that day. That was for me that day. So again, authentic doesn't mean you're unfiltered. You still pay attention to what you say, but be intentional. Be clear on your role, even if no one gave you one. In that room, I was so busy trying to serve or be an assistant over here. But in that room, I was an entrepreneur. I needed to be clear on what I was there for. And when you're doing that, the mistakes you make is you can overtalk, you can undertalk, or you can have confusion because expectations aren't clearly, they're not clearly stated. That's in a professional room. That's in a business room, that's in a brainstorming room, that's in a collaboration circle, committee, whatever it is. If the expectations aren't clearly stated, it can lead to confusion. And we can do a lot of taking another lap, Moses, instead of making progress into the land that we're supposed to be in. Yes, I know I'm speaking some biblical terms, but again, this is be the clay. This is be the clay. So what you want to do on number 2, when you're being clear on your role, you got to decide the role before the room decides it for you. For years, I would let the room decide it for me because I'm a multi-gifted person and I have gifts, different gifts. As many of you do out there, you have more than one gift. You can probably wear a few hats and get some things done. And so I would wait on the room to let me know where I was going to fill in. Like I would let other people pick the spots, and then I would just get in where I fit in because I knew I could do more than one thing, you know? And I thought I was being kind. I thought I was being nice. I thought I was being of value to the room. But that's not the case, because oftentimes the people who pick the cherry pick roles, they were not even qualified, or they didn't do a good job, or they weren't even vested. They just wanted the lights. They wanted to be sexy without doing the work. And so the room suffered when I probably was a better fit for some of those roles. And so again, you don't want to be wrong in the room. Be clear on your role, even if no one has given you one, and decide, am I going to be a builder? Am I going to be a catalyst? Am I going to be a clarifier, a strategist, a bridge, an advocate? What am I doing in this role? Be clear on what you're doing in the room. That helps you be optimal in a room and not wrong in a room. Okay. Another thing about being clear on your role, how do I say it? Just because you're not willing to do everything you can do, that doesn't mean you're fake or not a team player or not, not invested. That doesn't mean that at all. It means you can choose restraint. That's about being intentional. That's about being responsible. Don't be wrong in the room because you can do 5 things and say you're going to do all 5 in that week. You may not have the capacity for that, but because you have committed to it, knowing you probably are not going to get it finished, that's being irresponsible. So be responsible in the room. All right. We're saying don't be wrong in the room. Don't be wrong in the room. Another thing with being wrong in the room, this isn't even on the list, but it's hidden me, so I'm going to share it. Be the clay. Check yourself. If you're dealing with jealousy or envy or sabotage to the fact that you have to be performative or disingenuous or lie or something like that, or withhold information so someone can't be successful, or try to triangulate and create division and all that, you are wrong in the room. And the room is going to suffer. The occupants of that room is going to suffer. You're going to suffer too, because it's going to catch up with you. The comeuppance is coming. But you're wrong in the room when you do that. Be right in the room and be righteous in the room. Be right in the room and be righteous in the room. Oh my gosh, during my time at Oral Roberts at university, there was a paper that was due. There was like a paper that was due. And something happened where someone didn't turn in the paper. I don't even remember if it was me that didn't turn in the paper, but something was missing. And it was missing, and someone else had tried to do something kind of just wrong, trying to get over. And so the professor didn't recognize that my stuff, that I hadn't done the presentation verbally. Like, he didn't recognize that at the time. And I remember I was like, when I found out, I was like, no, I can do it. And I was prepared to do it then, but like, can we do it? And someone was like, oh, you shouldn't have said anything. And I think what we did was something that was just credit or not credit. It wasn't like a grade going to be there. And I was like, no, that's wrong in the room. Now that I'm aware of it, I'm wrong if I withhold that now. I'm wrong if I participate in that now. Listen, Mason said, any intent to deceive is a lie. And I don't want to lie. Again, being the clay. So just kind of check some of that. Check some of that. Again, check some of that. Be responsible. Just because someone wants something and they're like, ooh, because they feel like it's going to make them look good or all eyes on me. If they don't have the capability of that, that's like main character energy, but it's a miscast. It would be like me. That'd be like somebody casting me in a movie that Denzel is playing opposite of me. And I have absolutely no acting anywhere. No skills, no classes, no drama. I don't even know the language of it. That's not good. That's not good. That's poor casting. All right, I just want to say some of that. So check your role. That's number 2. Number 3 is regulate your energy, not your identity. You don't need to tone yourself down or tone yourself up to belong. If you're in a room, you're in a room for different reasons. A, they've hired you to be in that room. B, they've invited you into that room. C, your skill set has placed you in that room. Whatever it is, you don't have to tone yourself up or tone yourself down. All right? You've already read the room. You know the roles that you're going to have. When you are being you, your values are consistent. Message, your values are consistent. Your values, guys, your values, your core values, things that line up with you, things that help you sleep better at night, things that say who you are yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Yeah, you grow and they get sharper, but your values remain consistent. You can adjust your pace, your timing, your volume, things with your voice. And notice presence trumps performance. How can that be, Sharon? They hire you to perform. I'm talking about when you're being performative, when what you're showing up as is not what's really there. I'm talking about the the fabricated resume. You know what I mean? I'm talking about the not just the advertising and the marketing where it's big and beautiful and it's lovely and you draw something, but that's not what it is. Presence is over performance. Presence is that consistent. Presence is weighty. You can have somebody sitting in a room with presence who doesn't say a word, and performance will get nervous because performance knows they're being performative. They know. Other people don't even have to point it out. Other people will eventually, but they don't have to perform it out. When you're being performative like that, you have to triangulate. You have to control. It's something called a shame, fear, control cycle. You're afraid that someone's going to figure it out. So you want to control everything. And then you will be ashamed once they do it. Shame, fear, control. Shame, fear, control. And when you're performative, you kind of don't want people to know anything. You got to keep talking all the time. You can't let any gaps in. Someone could say, hey, is your favorite color blue or green? And you don't know what to say because they didn't identify their favorite color first. So now you're like, well, I actually like both of the colors. And then say, okay, well, do you like blue, red, green, or orange? I just find all of those colors amazing. You don't know where to go because performative needs something to try to match. Match in the room. Remember I talked about being wrong in the room? These things often even seem like a short-term win, but they're not. Long-term, everything gets revealed. Everything's whispered. Whatever was whispered on the rooftop will be shouted from the rooftops. Listen, things just come out. They do. And maybe you've been performative. Maybe you were afraid. You felt like you had to be performative. No shade. No shade, no judgment. No shade, no judgment. We are all walking this thing called life out. But in being the clay and being pliable, when the Lord begins to mold you and shape you and say, no, listen, don't talk, listen. Don't apologize. You're competent. When he begins to say these things to you, you have to yield. The same way when things are going bad, when things are going good, our hands are up, Lord, we yield. So authenticity is who you are, your core, who you are. Professionalism is how you deliver who you are. And they're not enemies, they are teammates. They're teammates. I just said that about apologizing. Listen, number 4 is I want you to speak from grounded confidence. Confidence. Even if not in confidence in what you're doing, confidence in your ability to learn to do it. You understand what I'm saying? Confidence. Confidence. Not earned permission, not earned permission. What is earned permission, Sharon? It's like you're waiting for validation before you contribute. You're over justifying every point. So instead of me saying, hey, this is the direction we're going to go in, this is the method we're going to use, we're also going to support it with some information from over here. We're going to come and so we can double down on this. This is exactly what we think we're going to get. It may fall in this range between A, B, C, and E, F, G, but this is what we believe we're going to find. Okay, so you say that. Now, if you say, well, I think I want to do this, if you think maybe we should, because I don't know, well, do you think we can use this? And it's like, it's not confident at all. If you're in the room, you're in the room for a reason. Again, invitation, competence, your skill set, things you've done. A gentleman helped me with this. I was like, well, can we? And he was like, hey, I've seen your work. I've seen your work ethic, and I've seen things that have come from your work. I've seen when you didn't know how to do something and you figured it out, and this is what happened. Let me know what you think we should do. And I was a little taken aback, but I shared what I thought we should do. I shared why I thought we should do it, and I shared what I believe would happen. And he was like, okay, let's go. And I was like, what? Well, all right. You know what I'm saying? And so we put it in place. And we did fall into the range, praise God. We fell into the range. But again, you know, that thing came to be. It was actually an endeavor, an initiative. And it did come to be. But I was like, wow, you know, so speak from grounded confidence. Even though he and I hadn't had that particular conversation, I didn't need to earn his permission. I didn't need him to verify and validate each step of the way. And what I learned on that is say less and mean more. Say less, but mean it more. Period. Say less, but mean it more, especially in a professional, well, anywhere really. But you know, if it's like a romantic relationship or a best friend relationship, you know, those type of things, you talk a little bit more. But in business meetings, you can say less and mean more. Say less and mean more. Period. Lead with clarity, not your credentials. I bless your credentials. Initials are good. They show that you have invested in things. But there's a gentleman worked with, his name was Luane, and he's from New York. And he always used to say, just because you have a license doesn't mean you know how to drive. Facts. Facts. So your credentials are great. Experience also is great. Boots on the ground. Now, if you have both, snap. But when you're leading, lead with clarity, not just with your credentials. You know, not just with your credentials. Offer insight, not apologies. Share your insight in the right room. In the right room and showing up right in the room. Share your insights, not apologies. Don't feel bad because you know what you know or because you've experienced what you've experienced. You don't need to announce your worth. The room can feel when you're rooted. This is what I was saying about presence. You don't have to announce, well, I'm this, and this, so I know. You don't have to do that. And showing up right in a room and not wrong in a room, you don't have to do that. You may do that at an interview, but this isn't an interview room. So your presence will be there. Trees don't ask for permission to grow. They just grow. And their roots are there. They grow quietly, but they grow firmly. You know it's a tree. You know it's a tree. You know what I'm saying? And you know it can withstand some stuff. It's a tree for a reason. Number 5 is after you've done all of the first 4 things, know when you're wrong for the room. Oh, this right here. Guys, alignment is key. It's key. If you're not a shark, you probably don't need to work for like a a high dollar, high visible Wall Street company if you're not a shark. If you're not comfortable taking someone's last and knowing that they don't have money for their mortgage or for their family to eat, you probably don't need to work in a high like volatility, like a, I don't know, like in a call center where they just don't care about people. You have to know when you're wrong for the room. You have to know when you're wrong for the room. If you're conflict avoidant, certain rules are going to tire you out. They're going to drain you emotionally. Know when you're wrong for the room and exit with dignity. There's nothing wrong in that. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, if that is not your space, move on. If the room has changed and the values of a company has changed or a direction of a company has changed, you can now be wrong for the room. Your assignment is up. Maybe your time has come to, has come to a close. The mistake a lot of people make, I've done it myself, is you stay too long in spaces that require you to contort, to perform, or to betray yourself, to do something wrong that you know is wrong, and that doesn't sit with you at all. Everything in you is like, that's wrong. That's wrong. That means you are wrong for that room. And listen, that's a blessing. That is a blessing. You know how many people can operate and their consciences don't bother them at all? And you be like, man, I wish it didn't bother me. No, you don't. No, you don't. The thing about living in a den of snakes is snakes eat snakes too. Be glad that you have conviction. Be glad that your conscience is not so seared. Be glad about that. Be glad. You're being the clay. Be pliable. Be the clay. Be the clay. In this case, you may be the part of the clay that if everything is, if you're speaking up and you're saying, hey, and you're about being ethical and trying to be, stand up type of guy, in that instance, you may be that clay that rolls out the dough, and you may be getting impurities out because you have to get the impurities out of clay too in order to shape it the best way. So, who knows how he's going to shape you? You could be the spoon that someone eats with. You could be the bowl that holds something. You could be the cup that refreshes somebody with a nice beverage. You could also be a vase that he done set somewhere and you're not participating in anything. He's just looking at you. So, but in being the clay, if you feel like if something doesn't sit right with you, man, don't feel bad about that. Don't feel bad about that, or like something's wrong with you, or you're less than, or you're weird. You're not weird. You're integrous. You don't want to see somebody hurt or harmed. You don't want to do something to somebody that you wouldn't want done to you. Period. I applaud that. I applaud that. So you have to know when you're wrong for the room and exit with dignity. Now, if you feel like something is wrong and you're like, I don't like how they're doing something, but that is the business model, exiting with dignity means that you just say, hey, okay. All right. You split. You split without talking about everybody and their mama. You split without cussing somebody out. You split without wishing ill on them. No, you don't do any of that. You just exit with dignity. You exit with dignity. And it does not always feel good at all, especially if you've invested time there or you have relationships there, friends there. A lot of times, in professional life, we spend more time in those rooms than we actually spend at our home. So you want to discern, is this a stretch or a strain? Am I learning or just surviving? If it's a strain all the time and you're just surviving, you may be wrong for the room. This is the check for you here. Leaving a room that no longer fits you, that's not failure. That's not failure. It's self-leadership. Now, sometimes, because the potter, sometimes we like where we're sitting. We've gotten comfortable up on that shelf, being looked at as pretty or just shiny. We've gotten comfortable carrying water in the cup, We've gotten comfortable being refreshing. Sometimes the potter will help you with your self-leadership or with leadership. He will help you move on out. And so every room is not your assignment, guys. Every room is not my assignment. Every room is not your spouse's assignment. And that's okay. That's all right. That's all right. Sometimes you'll see something and you'll be like, oh, that needs to be adjusted. Or, oh, that's that's not lining up. That doesn't look good. That's not a good feel. That's not going to go. That's not, you something in you feels like it's not going to go well. Here's the deal. That doesn't mean that it's for you to go and say that to somebody. Sometimes it is for you to go and say it, and you have to say it. All right. Know your call, know your assignment. How am I showing up in this room? But sometimes it's not that. Sometimes you just pray for it. Sometimes there's a lesson. Sometimes it's something else he's going to give you from it. But it may not be for you to, it doesn't mean it's your assignment that you're assigned to be there. So I did want to share that with you. Being wrong in the room doesn't mean you're wrong. You can do a self-evaluation, you can do learning and growth without doing self-condemnation and damning yourself or speaking something that's not true. There's nothing wrong with you. All right? There's nothing wrong with you. It means that the fit, the function, and the timing is off. It may have expired. It may not be time yet, or something else may be lined up. Maybe it's time, but maybe other things aren't in place at this moment. The goal isn't to belong everywhere. The goal isn't to belong everywhere. Even when we're writing books and we're doing publishing, they say, they ask, what's your niche? What's your niche? What's your segment? What's your target audience? Who's your avatar? They ask those type of questions. So the goal is not to belong everywhere, but it is to show up whole, aware, and aligned wherever you are. Wherever you are. And when that's not possible, don't contort, choose another room. Choose another room. Don't contort. What do you mean don't contort? I like to share this story about the eagle. Eagles have a large wingspan, right? However, if an eagle is raised around chickens, stay with me. I know you think you know what I'm about to say, but just stay with me. Listen from the point of what you don't know so you can actively listen and then add what you do know. If an eagle stays around chickens, then the living in conditions of the chicken means that the eagle, even the very chicken coop, the eagle will have to grow deformed. He won't be able to spread out his wings because the chicken coop cannot hold him spreading his wings out full. So in order for him to be inside of that, he has to contort. And anytime you keep something in a position for so long, it begins to get stuck in that position, And so now the eagle, when he does come out, his wings can't fly like he needs them to fly. He can't be the full eagle that he is to be. The eagle can't be who he is because he has been contorted for so long that his body has what's the word? It's almost like it's gotten stuck in that position. So his wings are here, with the elbows back to your elbow, but they're not out. They're not fully outstretched like arms. And so he doesn't even want to fly high in the sky because he's used to picking the chicken feed off. Now, I'm not hating on chickens. I love chicken. A lot of people love chicken, unless you're a vegetarian. I'm not hating on chickens. They're a very real part and a very necessary part, of our ecosystem. They are. So the chicken is not more or less valuable than the eagle, but they are two different things. And sometimes if an eagle is in a chicken coop, he is in the wrong room. He's not wrong in the room. He is actually wrong for that room. That room is not where he's supposed to be. He needs to be in a place where he can stretch his wings, a place that maybe is open, what they call it, it's an apiary where birds are, apiary, like one with a retractable roof. So he can fly on out. He's not just stuck in somewhere, Think about it. Why would an eagle hang out with a, why would an eagle live with a flightless bird? They're built for different rooms. And so you want to be in the room that you are built for. That's what I wanted to say with you. Before I close, I'm going to share some differentiators. Again, guys, I just speak clarity over you, dignity over you, unction over you to check and see, am I in the right room? Am I wrong for this room? Am I in the right room? You know, am I showing up wrong because I'm a little insecure, or because I don't want to make people mad, which is part of people pleasing? You understand what I'm saying? Am I dealing with things, dealing with my own work that has nothing to do with anybody else? So I'm apologizing for a skill set that I've gained over the past 40 years, 50 years, 20 years, 15 years, whatever it is. So if it's not any of those things, I just speak over you that you have the right and the grace to be right and righteous in the room here on Be the Clay. People are watching you whether you know it or not, and people will come and ask you things. When you're being the clay, conversations will come, not just about professional and initiatives and meeting your deliverables, but people will come to you and they will talk to you about stuff going on in their life, with their family, with their children, struggles that they're having, because they recognize you as the clay and because your values are consistent. So don't forfeit that. Don't forfeit that. It's easier said than done. And I am not exempt. I've done it before myself. I do it no longer. But I've been on both sides. And I'm here to tell you, don't forfeit that. Be right in the room. Be righteous in the room. Don't be wrong in the room. What does that look like for leaders, Sharon? It looks like you don't have to dominate a room, but you do discipline it. Own it. Own it. Chew what I just said before you before you buck, or like be like, what is that? And if something is kicking up against it, I encourage you to ask, what is kicking up against the statement she just said? What don't I like, or what's uncomfortable to me about what she said? If you are a leader and this statement makes you feel uncomfortable, guys, you have to investigate that. Investigate that discomfort right there. Investigate it, because it could be holding you back from being the best leader you could be. Don't dominate the room. You do discipline the room. Okay? And if the word discipline has a negative connotation, again, ask yourself why. Ask yourself why. Discipline is a positive. Um, when you discipline when you discipline but don't dominate, you create like a psychological safety, not noise. You don't rush to speak. You set the standard by how you listen, how you respond, and how you decide. And people begin to grow and trust your process. They know what they're going to get when they come to you. They know what they're going to get. They know it. For other leaders, you don't need agreement here. You don't need agreement to lead. You do need alignment. You don't need agreement. You need alignment. Now the world will say you need agreement, and everybody in the department has to agree with this decision. That is a way that your department will not have the progress that you want it to have. You may have some wins, but the consistent thing won't be there because everybody won't always agree. Look at America, land of the free, home of the brave. We don't even agree. So I'm just saying, like, and this is one of the better countries. So you can work for one of the better companies. You won't always have agreement. So as a leader, you don't need agreement to lead. You need alignment. Am I lined up with the values? Am I lined up with the vision and mission? Am I lined up with my upline? The other individuals that I report to, are we all in agreement about what we're pushing? That's alignment there. Leadership isn't about being liked in the room. It's about being trusted. After the room empties, after the meeting is over, it's about being trusted. Trust is very hard to regain, guys. You do not want to lose trust. It is hard to regain. That's why you want your core values to be consistent, your values to be consistent. So people can trust you. Even when they don't like what you have to say, they can trust your actions. They know if you said it, you're going to do it. Period. Now, for women who are in transition, what does it mean? It means you stop auditioning for rooms that you already outgrew. Stop trying to hold on to stuff. Listen, again, I'm not exempt. Stop trying to hold on to things that you've outgrown. You don't want to be stagnant water, period. If you constantly feel the need to be to explain what you're doing here we go. If you always feel like you got to explain, you always feel like you got to minimize or over prepare, listen closely to what I'm saying. That's not humility. That's a signal. That's a signal, like a blinking red light saying, hey, something's off over here. That's an alarm and an alert going off. Humility is being all that God has created you to be while not making anybody else be less than who God created them to be. So for women who are in transition and you're like, man, what's going on? When is it going to change? I don't know. What am I going to do? Move forward to the side, all of that. Listen, don't over explain. Don't explain. Don't minimize. Just stop fighting to be in a space that season's over. You've outgrown it. You got everything you needed from it. You learned what you needed to learn. You did what you needed to do. You deposited what you needed to deposit. Another thing for women in transition, please learn the difference between becoming and betraying yourself. Becoming yourself is more about alignment, core, confidence, peace, peace, peace. Betraying yourself is more about that explaining away. And then you begin to resent yourself. You begin to resent yourself. It begins to be harder for you to trust others because you can't trust yourself. So if you are a woman in transition, and there are a lot of women in transition here right now, I mean, there's been a lot of changes, at least in this country. Many women have lost their job, professional women. I know over 300,000, and that was just the first quarter of 2025. Now we're in the first quarter of 2026. A lot of those roles did not come back. So a lot of people are in transition. A lot of women, professional, high-performing women are in transition. And so I want you to learn the difference between becoming and stepping in fully to what you know, even if it's your own thing. That's amazing. Owning your own time. A lot of times you're afraid. You're like, well, I'm not going to be able to make six figures, or what if I don't, I sold 250 whatever each year. I was able to have this in sales. But the thing, when you're working on your own, you get to keep more of your own dollars. So maybe it doesn't take the same amount of revenue, or maybe you surpass that revenue. Maybe you surpass it because you're using the skill set for you. All I'm saying is know the difference between becoming who he's called you to be, not just professionally, relationally, in your community, with your nieces, your nephews, your cousins, family representative. Become all that he's called you to be. And don't betray yourself. Don't betray yourself. Don't minimize and diminish what it is you are doing, want to do, or are called to do. Just because you're uncomfortable, just because you haven't gotten comfortable in that space yet, be fully you. And also for executive rooms, remember, presence beats personality. Presence beats personality. Presence speaks to consistency. Day in and day out. When someone's watching and when someone's not. And it will beat personality every single time. I say it all the time. Endurance beats enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is simply the on-ramp. But how are you going to do when you're on the highway for hours and hours and hours? You know what I'm saying? Endurance trumps enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is a short-term thing. It's like a spark. But endurance is the thing. A lot of people want to be sexy and they're enthusiastic. It's the top of January. We see it. Go to a gym right now. It's full. A workout center is full. A LA Fitness, a Planet Fitness is full. Then go again in 30 days when the novelty is worn off. It's not as full. So for executive rooms, remember that presence will trump personality every time. Executive rooms don't actually even reward. Executive rooms don't reward performance. It does you no good to be performative in there. That is a results type of place. They're going to reward composure, precision, and timing. Say less, land more. Say less, land more. Say less, land more. In executive rooms, you are evaluated by what you contribute, not what you consume. If your voice moves strategy and stabilizes tension or sharpens direction, you belong there. Period. Period. If your voice does those things, you belong there. Period. Again, it doesn't matter if people like you or not like you in true executive rooms. If your voice moves strategy, stabilizes tension, sharpens directions, you belong there. That's your check. Check, check, check. Being wrong in the room is really about your capability. It is about misalignment of purpose, of posture, or of season. And the truth, most people will not tell you, sometimes the bravest leadership thing, the bravest leadership move is recognizing when it is time to change rooms. Period. Period, period, period. I said period about 8 times in this show. Period. Listen, if this episode touched something in you, or you recognize, I don't know about the rooms, or I do know what the rooms are, and there's something that's connecting with you. What's from the heart speaks to the heart. If this episode stirs something in you, don't rush past it. Listen to it again. Maybe you already know 60% of what I'm saying. Let the 40% land. Sit in it for a little bit. Breathe it in. Consider it. Think about it. Pray about it. And, but don't rush past it. Also, I want to let you guys know, if you have concerns with like racing thoughts or ruminating on the wrong thing or seeming to be fixated, and it's taking you a long time to get past something that you want to let go, and you want to let it go, you want to get past it, you want to move away from this thing, it's over. I'm going to encourage you to get the Think on Purpose bundle. We go deeper into intentional decision making, identity anchored leadership, your purpose, think on purpose, and choosing alignment over approval. Yep, that's it. And if you get it during the month of January, because of what we're talking about, I'll also send you the free copy. It's the Wrong in the Room ebook. And it goes over what we went over today, plus all of the other topics in January that we'll be talking about as we're expounding on this. It's practical, it's reflective. It's a nice little tool. The ebook is a nice little tool, and it's absolutely free. It's an ebook and it has a little workbook with it so you can work it. And it's absolutely free. It accompanies this Think on Purpose, the bundle, which is the workbook and that book as well. So yeah, guys, I want to encourage you guys to be able to move on with confidence, with clarity. That's it. The link is going to be in the show notes. Before I let you go, I just want to say a quick prayer. If you don't mind, I'm going to say a quick prayer. Father, thank you. Thank you for allowing us to be the clay. Thank you for being our potter. Thank you for helping us during these times of transitions, Father, the ones we understand and the ones we don't. I just pray, Father, for those who are listening. I ask that you would give them grace. I ask that you would give them opportunities, Lord. I pray that you would open their eyes to opportunities and help the people around who are looking for what they have to see them as well. I ask that you would bring the right connections, God, so that they can be in the right rooms with alignment, Father. And I pray that you would breathe on them, give them confidence, let them know that you graced them, God, that works were created beforehand for them to walk in. Lord, I pray joy over those listening to this podcast. I pray hope over those listening to this podcast. And I pray health and peace over those listening to this podcast. I thank you for allowing us to have this time together. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Listen, y'all, be kind to somebody, be nice to somebody, not for wealth or fame, but because it is a good thing to do. It's just a good thing to do. My name is Sharon Combs, and this has been Be the Clay. We will see you guys next week. Same bat time, same bat place. See you soon.
Do you want greater success and satisfaction in your career? Do you have ideas that you desire to contribute? Then it's time to invest in you. Imagine you building and managing a high-performance team, managing conflict and difficult conversations, understanding financial management and budgeting, creating and implementing strategic plans, building and maintaining relationships with stakeholders. Our programs are designed and tailored for individuals seeking to grow and succeed in their leadership roles. UCDI's Change the Narrative Progressive Leadership is a mid-level leadership program designed specifically to develop the skills and knowledge necessary to take on greater leadership responsibilities in a sustainably scalable format. So, if you're tired of seeing ineffective processes, unhealthy work distribution, lack of follow-through and accountability, and you want to be an answer for yourself and for your team, then this is the program for you. Contact UCDI Leadership at info@ucdileadership.com or text LEADERSHIP to 214-717-5921. The future depends on many things, but mostly it depends on you.
You have to work with other people, and sometimes you don't want to. Sometimes they are in your face. God, I'm talking to myself too. But you still have to work with that person, so you have to lean over the shoulder and see what the result is that you want. You have to be the adult, and you have to let it go, because I can't run a race carrying your bags, my bags, and everybody else's bags.
I'm Dr. Kathy Martin, and I am living proof that with Sharon Combs, Coach Shay, and UCDI leadership processes and strategic avenues work.